Horror in tabletop is hard. Heroes win, but uncertainty, suspense that you are weak and helpless against an evil you might not even understand. That takes patience and begins before your players even realize that they are already doomed. Sorry about that little distraction, but now it is time to take a look at Tattered Facade, the new Vampire the Masquerade book for 5th edition, which has recently been released in PDF at the very least, and the full paper edition will be arriving later. And this one, yes, is fully about horror. All kinds of horror. It has guidance for folk horror, body horror, cosmic horror, which is actually a little bit of a surprise because it doesn't always fit quite as neatly into Vampire the Masquerade as other kinds of horror. There's some important additions that this version has made that fill out some of the common requests, let's say, from the community. So I've had people ask me about the Baali all the time, and I've had people ask me how to do feeding and hunting scenes all the time, which I was actually going to make a video about, but I might just point people to this book now because it has enhanced and improved that into a much larger scene structure that you can use, and a lot more masquerade breaking consequences for messing up or just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, needing to feed. Your hunger will drive that system in a very interesting way. But first I want to talk about the Baali. Now, previous editions had the Baali as sort of a mysterious bloodline which could have been descended from the La Sombra, or maybe recruited from various clans into it. But in this edition, they have actually expanded upon Akapilu, which are not demons. They definitely are in terms of how they act. They're deal makers. They are otherworldly entities which have their own power. They're known as Deva, for instance, and Jinn and things like that. And it is actually expanded upon from Blood Sigils, which has a whole list of Deva and what they can do for you. Yes, summoning the Akapilu even is a thing that is very well documented in this book and other books, and I think they're not calling them demons because Demon the Fallen not that it exists, but they want to leave that option open. That's my hope, and I think it's important to distinguish that they're actually taking the name from, I believe, what does the book say? I've called them Akapilo. I don't know why I've called them Akapilo. They're called Aapilu. Apilu comes from the Akkadian language, which is really fun. It kind of grounds it in a real life culture, and it grounds it in the fact that this ancient civilization and their sorcerers would have attempted and documented these contacts with otherworldly entities. And it was really cool to have just ancient knowledge. It's a really common trope in like cosmic horror specifically, but like Call of Cthulhu and things like that. Ancient knowledge is more powerful. Ancient knowledge is its own domain of expertise, right? Anything that adds more supernatural stuff and magic into this game, I'm always excited by. So there's an entire ritual you can do to summon and get tasks done by a specific Apilu, and that's really cool. But where the Baali come into that is that they are now defined as a possessed kindred, similar to a wight. Their intelligence has gone. Their beast, in fact, is probably gone as well, and they are more resilient and probably a lot more dangerous. They seem sentient still, but they will not be the same kindred, and that is because they are possessed by an Apilu. And I just love that horrible idea of having made one too many deals, of having had to give yourself away. Your body you were tricked, and now you're an agent, and your soul, whatever was left of you, You are now just a passenger in this. I really, really enjoyed that particular brand of think too much about it, and it'll probably freak you out. And in the same section as the Baali, they also introduce other cryptids, which I'm really enjoying, especially with the advent of Hunter. The idea that the world of darkness is surprising, and it is not as linear or structured as you would imagine by reading a rulebook. Like, it totally makes sense to list out everything like a creature or a vampire can do power-wise, like politics-wise, in a rulebook to help things go more smoothly. But to have that element of not knowing is incredibly important in any horror story. If you don't understand what you're fighting, if you don't understand what something can do, it's more easy to surprise your players. And having all sorts of cryptids in this, like screechers, gutter gorgons, flesh golems, which you can also get the oblivion powers to create. I just really love that. The extra variety and unpredictability from all these like very story focused and action focused creatures is really cool. But back to the Masquerade, because I feel like while I mostly took away that this is a book about how and what to run in a Vampire the Masquerade horror-focused campaign, the Masquerade is obviously a big part of that, and it gives you really perilous lists of things that can happen for every single predator type. It also lists every single clan and the kind of horror motivations for both NPCs and players that really cut to the heart of what that clan is about. And like a huge portion of this book is just lists of cool prompts and stuff, and like roll tables for victims and problems that can go wrong with victims that are incredibly practical at the table, which I can't say for every VTM 5th edition book, right? The possessiveness of the Tzimisce and what lengths they'll go to return things that they want or destroy things they can't have, or the search for ultimate knowledge that Tremere might get obsessed with, reaching into, again, cosmic horror, which I keep saying is a surprise, but now with this book, it makes a lot more sense. The book also adds a lot of cool ways for you to customize your character's experience. Importantly, and I feel like a lot of people don't use this as often as they would like as a mechanic, but compulsions, they have added more, and these ones tap into some mental health issues like repetition or extreme violence, depressive thoughts, and it gives you a lot of words about how to play that and how to introduce it into a scene and why you would do that. Like the need for power is one that comes hand in hand with paranoia, and you may become dependent on someone else or something else to reassure you that you still have the power that you feel you want to wield. Discipline flaws are a fantastic addition to the game. It's not something I would have thought of, but I love how closely it links in with what people love to put on their sheet, right? I love to put a bunch of discipline dots and get more powers, but I also love to put things that make that more difficult or unique or challenging for how my character acts and plays. So for instance, the animalism flaw is about having too close of a link with your beast. And if you don't ride the wave of frenzy, if you don't give over to it, then you get humanity stains. You become less human just by not frenzying. And it's like a beautiful duality there. Importantly, all of these flaws go straight to the core of the system. Rouse checks, remorse rolls for your humanity, frenzy, inducing frenzy if you don't do things, or if you fail rouse checks with potence, for instance. They cut to the heart of it, and it links like it's going to happen to your character. And having that guarantee in something I put on my character sheet is really exciting to me. While the book doesn't expand on the lore of the world in a kind of meta plot sense, which I've often said is a frustration of mine if you watch my In Memoriam review, it does add a ton of tools and things that will immediately be useful while you're playing, that you can fit in wherever suits you and inspire you, that you can change. I was actually kind of excited might be the wrong word to read all the profiles of the NPCs, a lot of them mortal and a lot of them tapping into really unpleasant but not supernatural subjects, like the necrophile, who is described in a bunch of different ways. A husband who hasn't let go of his dead wife, or someone that you can meet and is basically selling off bodies for unsavory use, because it's always a good reminder to have horror grounded in real things people can do, real effects the world has on people, and not spooky supernatural stuff, and just having that grounding in reality, serial killers, all sorts and more, and lots of advice on how to responsibly use things like the X card and check-in systems and lists of red lights and green lights for subjects at your table. All of this is probably repeated advice, but I think it's especially important that they included this. It's a very responsible thing for them to do. If you've never played a TTRPG before, you've never role-played, you've never acted or anything like that, this is great information to have alongside all of this, especially when there are a lot of challenging topics. They have seemingly picked up on a lot of things that people wanted to hear about in the game, like the Baali, like the Volgir, a bloodline of Toreador who fleshcraft their victims for supposedly aesthetic pursuits and change their own body for that exact same reason. It's kind of a lot of older fan favorites introduced into this and adapted for both modern times, modern audiences, and the way the game is right now. And I'm just really excited to use a lot of the things in this book in my own chronicles, which I say a lot, but I only really mean it if I'm actually going to do it, you know? So thank you for watching. If you want to hear more about role-playing, vampires, Vampire the Masquerade, and even miniature painting now, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this book if you read it in the comments. But until next time, don't be a stranger.